Today on LA Currents, get to know Los Angeles Police Department Chief Dominic Choi, who is leading the organization while a national search is underway for the 59th Chief of Police. Later, we'll head to Alpine Recreation Center to hear about youth programs offered by the city's Rec and Parks Department. But to start, making a difference in LA's homeless crisis, the USC Street Medicine program began with one man's dedication to help others.
Well, he has said you can absolutely hate the idea of homelessness, but the important thing is to love those that are unhoused. I'm delighted to be joined today by Brett Feldman. He's the director and co-founder of USC Street Medicine. I am completely captivated by everything that you do and what you have been able to accomplish at this point. So my very first question is, what prompted your decision to take your medical expertise and take that to the streets, originally in Pennsylvania, but now in Los Angeles, to those that are unhoused?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And just like everything we do, we want the streets to build the program, and the streets really are the ones that brought me out from the hospital. At the time, this was 2007, I was working as a hospitalist, and we also ran a shelter-based clinic. And there was one patient, there's always that sentinel patient, who was very dear to us, and he had an intellectual disability. He was in his 40s, but intellectually was about 8 or 9. And he ended up getting asked to leave the shelter where we were staying, or where he was staying. And we were worried about him because it was January in Pennsylvania, that he wouldn't know how to survive, that he would freeze to death or starve to death. And so I went looking for him and found him under a bridge not far from where the shelter was. And I remember walking down this embankment, peeking under the bridge, and he's like, "Hey, Brett!" So excited to see me. I was so worried about him, but he was doing great. He was sitting by this fire with his new friends, well-fed, well-clothed. And so I kept visiting him and got to know his friends. But I didn't know this was called street medicine. My employer didn't know, my malpractice carrier didn't know. I eventually told them, and it turned out okay. But there was one, that's how it started, but what kept me out there was one of his friends ended up having severe abdominal pain, which turned out to need surgery that night. It was an acute abdomen. He walked 6 hours to the hospital to see me because he knew I worked there still.
Oh, wow.
And this was pre-Obamacare, and the practice I worked for didn't take insurance. And so he walked over there to see me, and I had to go and tell him that even though I would see him under the bridge and that he walked so far, I would not be the one to care for him. And I remember the look in his eyes of sadness and betrayal that was like, "You see me under the bridge, but here you don't know me." And I was so ashamed of myself and so ashamed of my profession. I just wanted to rip off my pressed white coat and never put it on again. And I think in a lot of ways I did that day, and just wanted to be out there with them under the bridge. I just wanted to stay outside.
That whole power dynamic is fascinating to me because you talk about you go to where they are, but you also go to where they are in with a different approach and a different attitude. I mean, even how you posture yourself when you speak to people, when you're getting to know them is an important part of your philosophy of how this works. How did that come into play, and how did you understand that that was important when you're dealing with people who are already in horrible crisis?
The values and philosophy of street medicine are, being able to share in some of their suffering with them, be in solidarity with them, being willing to not just give out of what's extra, out of an excess, but give a little bit until it makes you uncomfortable because that's the equitable thing to do in their state. And I learned that because I've seen so many programs that try to address one of the different types of poverty that they suffer from without addressing all three. And so there's the material poverty for want of a home or want of food, and we ask our folks a lot of things. Outside of Skid Row in LA, many people are only getting 2 to 3 meals a week. And so how do you begin to think about things like your healthcare or getting a job or doing anything if you're starving? There's the poverty of health. Over 80% have a physical comorbidity disorder, about 60 to 70% with a mental illness, and about 60% suffer from a substance use disorder. And if we don't treat that now while they're on the street, they're not going to, one, live long enough to get into housing. And if they do get housing, they're not going to be able to walk over that threshold into housing or keep that housing if they're sick. So there's the physical poverty too. But it's the spiritual poverty of feeling unwanted or unloved by anybody. A poverty only deepened every time, for example, a neighbor locks a public restroom on another neighbor, forcing them into the dehumanizing act of open defecation. And we know this is about 85% of the people in LA. And it's not because they want to, it's because there's no bathroom open to them. Or anytime a neighbor calls to have another neighbor's place moved, pushing them around the city that they feel is their home, but there's no place to put their physical body. So it's that being seen and treated like a contagion, or like the trash that they're thrown out with, that needs to be addressed before they can ever be spiritually housed.
So how do you make these relationships, and how many relationships can you physically make and assist? Because this seems, how many unhoused do we have in this city at this point? What was the last count?
Yeah, for the unsheltered, because that's who we serve, it's about 50,000.
Okay, you cannot possibly make a relationship with 50,000 people as long as you live. So
yeah.
What are you able to do, and how are you able to do it?
We have a team. Right now, USC Street Medicine, we have, I guess, about 50 employees. We have 5 full-time teams that cover the city. There's also other street medicine programs in the city, and it's growing. And we have our partners to share the work with. That said, we're still only meeting a small percentage of the people. So I don't go out every day thinking, how do I care for 50,000? I go out thinking, how do I care for one? And then the next one, and then the next one. That's the attitude that we go with.
Okay, so here I am. What can I do? I don't have any control.
It's LA. We see people experiencing homelessness every single day. There's probably somebody that you see coming off of the freeway every day, holding their sign asking for food. There's probably somebody outside the studio that you see pretty regularly. And as many people as are experiencing homelessness, there's more people who are not homeless. And so if each of us found one of those people that we see every day, and we got to know them, what their name is, what their hopes are, maybe we bring them food, we take care of that one person, then we would solve the crisis.
Well, we've all been told not to give money to panhandlers, that they're just going to go and end up, buying fentanyl or something awful. And then I'm a woman, how do I know the behavior of who's in front of me?
What we're saying to do is very low risk. Walking by somebody or walking by them anyway, you can certainly give them something as you walk by. In terms of if you're going to give money, if you're going to give food or socks or whatever, if you're worried about that, you can't go wrong with giving socks and water. Everybody needs water, and they probably are hungry also. So if you want to carry some flip-top cans of, some sort of hearty soup, because they don't all have can openers, that's also a great thing to give if you don't want to give money. Some people are fine with giving money. That's a personal choice. I feel like whatever money I have, my employer doesn't tell me how to spend my money. That's up to me. And so if I choose to give money, however they spend their money, that's up to them. Mm-hmm. That's my personal feeling, but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or not you, but people watching, then those 3 things you can't go wrong. Flip-top cans of soup, socks, water.
If people want to learn about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yes, if they want to get more information, they can visit our website, for USC Street Medicine.
All right, thank you, Brett. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being such a compassionate person. Well, on March 1st, he made history as becoming the first Asian American to hold the position of Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department. I am delighted to be joined today by the 58th Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, the Interim Chief, Dominic Choi. So great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
All right, what made you want to actually, take on this role?
I think it just boils down to there was a need in the organization for somebody to fill that gap, and I felt that I was the appropriate person to fill that gap, and so I agreed to put in my name in the hat for this process, and I was honored and fortunate enough to be selected for it.
Do you have a clue as to how long you will be able to hold this position? What have you been told?
When anyone asks, I say roughly 6 months.
Okay.
So if it's less, it's less. If it's more, it's more. I know that the mayor and the commission would like to have a selection done as soon as possible, but that all depends on how many applicants and the process that they're going to implement.
There's been an enormous amount of celebration, well-deserved, of the fact that you're the first Asian American to hold this position. So what do you think that says out loud, and how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel great to represent not just Korean Americans or Asian Americans, but all minority groups. I think people see me not as a Korean American role model, but as a minority role model. I never dreamed I'd be sitting in this position. So I think with some hard work, some good luck, and some dedication, anyone can work hard and achieve what they want to at LAPD.
What are your strategies to engage people in a potential career with the LAPD?
Sure. So there's 3 things I want to focus on during this interim period. And obviously it's crime reduction and community engagement. And those 2 things go hand in hand because we need our communities to be our partners, our eyes and ears, and with that partnership we can reduce crime together. So that's number 1. Second priority, like you mentioned, was recruitment and retention, not just hiring, but retaining those people that we have. In the past few years, our attrition level or our retirements, I'll call them retirements, or just people leaving the organization, because we've had a lot of people from the 2 to 10 year mark without vesting in a pension leave the organization. That's unusual. We haven't seen that in the past. Could be a bunch of reasons, because normally on their paperwork they just put personal reasons, but we know a lot of them are going to other agencies, right? So I want to focus on retention as well as our hiring. On a positive note, this year so far our attrition level shows a decrease, so more people are staying. But also in January we had 1,200, almost 1,300 new applications for LAPD. That's the highest number of applications one month we've seen in over 2 years. And then lastly, morale and employee wellness. So when you're internally well, when your organization is well, when you're physically healthy inside, you perform better. You do it with more vigor and more excitement, and you treat people better. So if I can increase morale and wellness, that is automatically going to increase our recruitment and hiring, because I believe our officers are #1 recruiters. And right now, not all of them are telling their friends to come join LAPD, and I need them to. And then with that, with an excited workforce that's eager to come to work and excited to see what the next day holds for them, they're going to go out there and engage the community in a positive manner, which is going to ultimately reduce crime. So all of this is intertwined.
So when you say that there's something for everybody in the LAPD, what are jobs beyond a beat cop, beyond someone who, what are some of the things that people never even think about that they could potentially do?
We have a dive unit. If you're avid scuba diver, you can go get on the dive unit to go search for evidence that's thrown in the ocean or the lakes or whatever else it may be. We have a mounted unit. We have specialized investigations like abused child unit. We have over 230 different job descriptions. We have our air support unit. You can become a pilot of a helicopter. On the civilian side, we have forensics, our people that take our fingerprint specialists, our polygraph examiners, kind of the CSI stuff all exists. We really do have a whole array of different jobs.
You bring up an interesting point. You have been with the department now for 28 years. How have you seen the department change, just in a general overall sense? How have you seen the department shift to adapt to a changing Los Angeles and shift and adapt to what people want their police department to be versus what they felt it was?
So I've seen a lot of change for the better. positive change. So just our diversity hiring has significantly increased. The technology has increased. We went from having radios where we had to hang them out the car window and go grab them when we need the radio, to now they're on our sides and they're with us everywhere. Body-worn video, digital in-car videos, the way we police, like our Community Safety Partnership Bureau, we never had a whole bureau that was dedicated to community policing, where we find a underserved community, build relationships, help activate that community through programs for youth all the way up to the senior citizens within those communities, and educate so they can support themselves and know how to use city resources. Every one of those locations that we've stood up for Community Safety Partnership, I think there's 10 now, there's actually 11, but 10 groups of officers, one supervisor, 10 officers in each of those sites. We just opened up another one here this month, and we have another one opening up in a couple more months. Every one of those sites has seen a dramatic decrease in crime. So the way we police, the way we're building trust and relationships, the transparency after going through the consent decree, the reports that we publish, the way we track certain things, I think we're doing a great job in communicating all that information publicly, building that trust, and then that leads to a lower crime rate because we're all working towards the same goal. But also when we have community events, whether it's coffee with a cop or whether it's a community meeting, a town hall meeting, 90% of the people there are there to support. Almost everybody is willing to work with the police hand in hand. They're not there to be against the police, and the officers see that.
Do you see another force? It doesn't even have to be in the United States. It could be somewhere that kind of stands as a role model to you, because, you know, sometimes it's, instead of reinventing something, it's something, you know, take the good parts of what is already existing somewhere or it's something. And do you see a force anywhere that you think LA could, you know, cherry pick some good things from and create?
Well, I've had the opportunity to visit a lot of different agencies, both nationally and internationally, and from the Korean National Police to the Venice Police Department to the Italian National, to the French Police. So I've seen a lot of agencies, and I will tell you that my personal opinion is we are still the best.
Oh.
Yeah, we are always evolving, always looking for change. If you're stagnant, you're falling behind. And that's just been our mantra, and because of that, we've been able to stay ahead of the game, I think, and set the example for us. And we have agencies from around the world calling us to come visit our training facilities to see what we're doing, and so I think that's a testament to what we're doing. I'll tell you, when I came on the job, I only applied to LAPD, and if I wasn't going to be an LAPD officer, I wasn't going to be a cop. Because? I was just infatuated with the LAPD brand. It was the movies, everything was LAPD, it was the best, right? And so I used to be an accountant. I worked for Cooper's Linebrand, a Big Six accounting firm back then. And I said, well, I want to be a cop. And so I applied.
The era of all of those films and television shows that, you know, put a police officer in a position of hero versus a position of what we saw, you know, after the pandemic.
Well, there are some opportunities out there to create another LAPD type of show. You know, like we used to have Life on the Beat years ago. But there are opportunities out there that I'm looking into. Just as kind of, not so much as a Hollywood sensational LAPD, but more of a marketing tool. Say, look at all these jobs we have, look how much fun it is. And I remember coming to work in the middle of summer, and you know, when I was a probationary officer, every day I was excited to come to work to see what the next day held for me, what kind of radio calls I was going to get, you know, who I was going to run into. And I just want the young officers these days to feel the same way.
Most importantly, if people are interested in becoming part of your team, what's the best way for them to find out what's available?
JoinLAPD.com.
Okay.
That webpage will give you everything you need to know. We have individual mentors for you to talk to, and I encourage everyone to look at that website.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Choi. It was really nice talking with you. I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Today I'm here in gorgeous Alpine Recreation Center, and I'm joined by Sonya Jimenez, who is the superintendent of Venice Beach in the West region of the LA Rec and Parks Department. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Sonya.
Sonya. Thank you for having us.
Since you're rocking the Play LA shirt today, Shout out to Play LA.
Right.
I love what they're doing because they're really creating more accessible sport programs. So can you talk a little bit more about that and why there's like an emphasis in really, creating all these activities and programs for people of all abilities?
Right. So Play LA, we're really thankful to the LA 28 Foundation. We were given $160 million through the foundation to offer programs in Los Angeles. So we're really opening up people's eyes to all the different Olympic sports. We're trying to offer as many as we can throughout the city, and just getting kids to understand that there's so many other opportunities out there. It's not just a traditional baseball, football, basketball.
Right.
There's so many other sports that they could participate in, as well as kids with disabilities. We have great para sports, and we've always been able to accommodate kids with disabilities as much as we can, but now we're partnering with agencies that actually work with kids with disabilities, so they're actually able to really get the full experience. My daughter, she's autistic, and she's participating in our para-equestrian program, and she loves it. And she's never really wanted to do anything, but every Saturday she's like, Mom, horses, let's go. She wants to go. We do para-surfing, which is really cool to get kids out there. Yeah, that class, if you ever have a chance to go, it's emotional to see kids who've been in wheelchairs all the time now surfing out in the ocean. We do this at Venice Beach, as well as tennis and sitting volleyball. So there's a variety of different sports that kids with adaptive abilities can actually participate in. All the para classes and the adaptive sports are free. So if you're able to get into our adaptive program, all those programs are free for kids throughout LA. Through our laparks.org, search adaptive programming, you can find all the adaptive programming we have to offer.
So we have sports, we have artistic activities, we have summer camps, we have field trips, adventure programs. And then there are also programs that focus on really giving our youth a chance to enter the workforce with a certain preparation, right? I believe it's called the Youth Employment Internship Program. So what's that about?
So we're really giving teens the opportunity to learn some leadership skills, as well as learn a couple of different areas. So they're able to go to like youth teen counselor program, crime scene investigation, which sounds really fun.
Oh, wow, fascinating.
They get to learn from different experts in that field. Yeah, CSI. And all of them also get a leadership component. So even no matter which area you want to focus on, they also do a leadership component where you learn resume writing, you learn how to apply for jobs, you learn how to open a bank account. Some of those life skills that you don't learn maybe in school that they'll learn through this program.
So, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
My son tried it last year and he really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Speaking of leadership, precisely, I know you have partnered with incredible organization and professional sport teams like the Dodgers. We're actually really close to the Dodgers Stadium
down
here
the
at
street,
the Alpine Rec Center. But also Angel City. I know them because I work for Angel City specifically, and I want to know more about the Soccer Leadership Academy. What's that about? The Girls Play LA organization.
Right, Girls Play LA is one of our great programs, trying to get gender equity throughout the city. We know that a lot of girls fall off from sports really young, and we really want to bring them back into sports. And they've done a leadership component where they actually get the girls to learn from some of the key females that run Angel City, actually teach them leadership elements, kind of like the YEIP program, but just for women and just for girls. And the girls are able to go through soccer clinics and academies, actually go play at BMO Stadium. They've been on the field and been able to go on the field and actually go into the VIP areas and meet some of the executives at BMO and who run Angel City, which has been a great partnership. So we've been doing that for several years now. We want to continue that partnership with them.
All right, so soccer is covered. Now what about baseball with the Dodgers?
The Dodgers. Dodgers are our home team, so right next door. We do a program called RBI. They help us a lot. We have a lot of Dodger dream fields throughout the city. If you go through a lot of our recreation facilities, you'll see Dodgers in our scoreboards across the city, and they really help us bring in uniforms and other elements to our programs to help kids be able to participate in baseball at a lower cost and also be able to represent the Dodgers too.
Can you tell us about other future partnerships with other professional teams, perhaps, or organizations that we can look forward to?
Sure. Right now, we have a huge partnership with the Clippers. So the Clippers has done, they've resurfaced and fixed all of our basketball courts throughout the city. So if you go to any of our courts, indoors or outdoors, you see the Clipper logo because the Clippers actually paid for all of our courts.
Yes, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it looks really cool. They did a great job, and it's nice to be able to have a really nice basketball court in your backyard.
Fantástico. Bueno, hoy me acompaña aquí en el Alpine Rec Center la superintendente de la playa de Venice y de la zona oeste de Los Ángeles del departamento de LA Rec and Parks, Sonya Jimenez, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
Gracias, mucho gusto.
Bueno, cuéntame, ¿qué planes tiene el departamento para este año 2024? Yo sé que están empujando el crear programas para gente con discapacidad, programas accesibles.
Tenemos un programa que se llama Play LA y en Play LA ofrecemos programas para todos que tienen disabilidades y también todos los niños de Los Ángeles. Queremos en el departamento ofrecer programas equitables y también accesibles para todos y estamos ofreciendo programas de los olímpicos. Tenemos programas como archery, kayaking, también equestrian. Hay diferentes programas en todas las áreas de Los Ángeles.
Y yo sé que tienen programas, o sea, para toda la gente. Tienen programas para niños, adolescentes, adultos, inclusive para seniors, ¿no?
Sí.
Entonces, bueno, cuéntame, por ejemplo, acerca de, yo sé que tienen campamentos de verano, también tienen programas de primavera. Entonces, ¿qué pueden esperar las familias acá angelinas de esos programas? ¿Qué actividades ofrecen? ¿Cómo se apuntan?
Sí. Ahorita vamos a comenzar registración para primavera. Y en primavera siempre tenemos como deportes de béisbol, softball, también voleibol. Pero todos los parques tienen diferentes programas. Depende en su área donde vives, puedes mirar qué programas están ofreciendo. Y también en el verano ofrecemos campamentos. Después de las escuelas, papás y mamás necesitan llevar sus niños a un lugar y tenemos campamentos que son como 8 a 9 semanas y pueden venir todos los días a divertirse y vamos a field trips y diferentes lugares en Los Ángeles.
Porque además también incluyen comidas, ¿no? Comidas saludables, además de actividades. Entonces, yo sé que también el departamento ofrece diferentes programas también para ayudar a que la gente tenga acceso a comida, ¿no?
Sí. En casi 100 parques en Los Ángeles ofrecemos, se llama Summer Lunch Program. Y es para todos los niños en el área, no tienen que registrar ni nada, nomás tienen que venir a su parque, averiguar qué ofrecen el Summer Lunch y es first come, first serve. Los que llegan primero pueden agarrar su lonche.
Y luego también yo sé que comentabas un poquito acerca de programas para después de la escuela, programas de fin de semana, ¿no? Para un poquito ayudar a las familias que tienen hijos a que puedan ocuparles con actividades, ¿no? Cuéntame un poquito acerca de qué ejemplos tienen de programas así.
Sí. Hay muchos programas. Los Ángeles es tan grande que hay programas para todos, pero muchos parques tienen después de escuela para que puedan ayudar con tarea. También ofrecen snack, algo de comer, algo saludable para los niños. Es muy importante para los papás que tienen que trabajar. Hay algo que ofrecemos. Y los programas hay diferentes deportes y clases de cultura o diferentes clases que pueden buscar.
Bueno, luego hablamos al principio, también tenemos por supuesto las Olimpiadas del 2028 que vienen acá a Los Ángeles, que es un evento pues épico. ¿Y cómo se está el departamento preparando para eso?
La mayoría de lo que estamos haciendo ahorita, preparar para los Olímpicos, es el programa de Play LA. Play LA es introducir todos los programas de los Olímpicos y Paralímpicos para todos los niños de Los Ángeles para que puedan aprender y saber diferentes deportes que ofrecen. Estamos preparando porque tenemos muchos facilities, muchos lugares donde maybe van a usar para los Olympics. Como yo trabajo en Venice Beach, es un lugar vienen los turistas, vienen todos a Venice Beach. Estamos preparando para ver cómo se va a hacer el 28.
Fantástico. Bueno, y Sonia, ¿cómo se puede la gente mantener informada acerca de actividades, programas que ofrece el departamento de Rec and Parks?
Sí, el best way para estar informado es para ir al website, es laparks.org. También tenemos social media, puedes ir en el internet, en el Facebook, LA City Parks, también Instagram y Twitter, LA City Parks, para buscar todos los programas que ofrecemos.